Hey James, how's it going? Welcome to Salty Well chat again. It's been a while.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Pretty good. I just realized I have not talked to you for a year, except for Discord every day. But on video, officially, I have not talked to you for a year.
Yes, indeed. It is our annual checkup.
That's right. So with our annual checkup, let's talk about the state of Fab. So a lot has happened with Flesh and Blood in the last year since we talked. Last year it was still booming. So we talked last early Q1 last year, I think,
hmm
2022. So Flesh and Blood was still booming, but it was still coming down from its Monarch highs, right? So we had that, and it's kind of been kind of last year. Last year was tough, right? So,
Yeah,
but
little
yeah, what are
rocky
your thoughts on
last
last
year.
year, and then what's happening right now with Flesh and Blood?
Yeah. So I'll start with last year for me. Last year it was just pretty much straight line all the way till like uprising. It seemed like downward movement actually till uprising.
Mhm.
And then uprising kind of reinvigorated the game in my eyes, with the Fab 2.0, the changing of the runs, all that good stuff. And people were very receptive to it, it seemed like, and still are, which is great. They simplified everything. And it seems like that really started this uptick, all coming to kind of a crescendo to the following year at this Pro Tour in Baltimore, honestly. It was like the crescendo for me, at least, I think. And it's still popping off. How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, last year it was kind of getting down. I mean, what I mean by down, it was still really high. Like if you talk about Flesh and Blood early, late, so me and you both got in kind of early. So
Yeah.
from a seller standpoint, I'd say last fall was kind of shitty. So you had to be very careful when you sell. But last October, I sold a heart for about 12 grand, so that was kind of high. And then I used that to buy a bunch of dragons. I made a video about that, right? So,
Yeah.
but when you get to like December timeline, it got shitty. What I say by that is, so I sold an alpha case for 10 grand,
Yeah.
and I did that because I want to go on a vacation to Thailand, and now I'm engaged to that lady. So it was a good story. So it's worth it. So sometimes you get to make sales that you don't necessarily want to, but now the alpha case is going for 20 to 40 grand, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't say 10 grand is bad. I'm not complaining about 10 grand for an alpha case, but I'm
Right.
saying if you look at the market, 10 grand was the December market, but you look at it now, it's 20, 40 grand because Rudy did a sell right there. So I've seen a complete rebound on Monarch, even though it was high last fall. It is, it's booming right now. So like I see cases of Monarch, not Monarch, Welcome to Wraith and Arcane Rising and Crucible Ward is booming this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen personally a 16K sale for an alpha case, a 20K sale for an alpha case, Rudy's sale, 38-ish.
Mhm.
And that was confirmed to be a real sale. And so I would feel confident saying that that's a real sale, because of in-person conversations. But the top case I've ever seen sold prior to that was a case for 35 grand, and that was in the Monarch boom. And that was the case that I helped broker. The highest case I've ever seen for ARC is 20K, same thing in that boom of Monarch 1.0, right?
Yep.
The initial. So those are bullish indicators to see the alpha cases rebound hard. There were a couple that came out the woodwork, which is normal whenever you have huge movement like that. But I really like that indication. And you were mentioning some comps. Can you run us through some of those comps you saw recently?
Yeah, I mean, recently, like, let's just go back to like singles. I'm more of a singles guy than I'm a sealed guy.
Yeah.
So, for example, the legendaries from first two sets, we're going for low thousands in
hmm
January, December, January,
Some
February.
were under 1,000, remember? Some were under 1,000. Skullbone.
Skullbone was like $800.
Yeah,
I wasn't selling for that price, but I saw for
me
some
either, but
800. Yeah.
yeah, I
But
saw them.
now they're pushing 1400, 1500. And then
Yeah.
Tectonic Plating, I know for confirmed sale on TCG Player last week was 2K. Another guy who
I'll,
sold it.
I'll tell you something too about Grasp.
Yeah.
At the event in Pro Tour, I saw multiple Grasp move for 1.8 and they moved super fast. Like they were just like Instabot. And I saw three move at that price. Grasp is super hot. I can easily see it getting over two shortly because it's on fire. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, just seeing the market completely changed. And then, like, for example, I had a 9.5. Well, I got one right here as an example, but I had a 9.5 Courage blade hold on eBay. It was sitting there for 1,600 for about 5 months. I
Yeah,
sold for 1,100 last week, right?
nice,
So
strong.
yeah, the cards are picking up because those cards were going for 400, 500 raw. All of a sudden, like recently, they shot to 650, 750 on TCG Player. Then I have
Yeah.
9.5 selling. I mean, there's a lot of hype for New Warrior, so that makes sense. That's kicking up. But I'm seeing a lot of singles pick up like crazy right now.
Yeah, at Pro Tour, I had a BGS 9 quad twinning blade full art sell for 1.1 on eBay during that event, which was interesting. So, it's a lot of indicators popping off of just things drying up. I'm also noticing super rare foils drying up, in
Mhm.
particular from Alpha and even Arc. Certain ones are just getting super dry. Like you just can't find them no more. And the only way you can get them is if you know private sellers that just happen to have them.
Yeah, and if you buy them on TCG Player, you're probably gonna get most likely get a shit card because a lot of those first cards are pretty. When they say near mint, it's moderately played near mint. It's
Yeah,
like
near merked is more like it, not near mint, near merked.
near merc. Yeah, you get merked a lot of times. I do a lot of buying on TCG Player. One, because I have my own business, so I like to have tracking of what I buy and all that stuff for
Yeah,
write-offs and sales and all that. And I get my
yeah,
taxes back. But I always take a lot of risk, and I get a lot of shit cards. I get a lot of good cards. It goes back and forth.
yeah.
I buy a lot.
I probably get 1 out of 10 unlimited non-foils for an unlimited M foil for like Welcome to Wraith or Arc for like unlimited cards. I'll get like a non-foil 1 out of 10 times at least. So it's like the deal. You're always gonna get some crap, but the majority will probably be right. So that's the good part.
The biggest thing to look out for is downgrades. So you might order like a first edition, you get unlimited. I ordered a
Yeah,
few thousand packages recently. That's the largest purchasing I've done this year. Like out of all Flesh and Blood since the beginning, I bought quite a bit this year. And then so I've been like opening 8 hours each weekend for the last 3 weekends. So
yeah.
most time I catch my errors. Sometimes I get a few upgrade cards. So I bought some Monarch cards. I got some EAs instead of RFs. So I got an
Hmm.
EA Mark of the Beast or Mark of the Beast, whatever. And then I got an EA Limited Ascension when I ordered RF. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to keep track of it because I open so much, I throw away packages. So I don't know who the seller is. I can't say, hey, you give me a better card. But for example,
Yeah,
I ordered a Majestic, not Majestic, Marvel Soraya. I got a cold foil one. I have someone helping me open cards too, so I don't know if I missed it or that guy missed it. But when you're opening so many cards, it's mistakes happen too, which is kind of shitty.
yeah, they do. And you get bad cards. That's why whenever you do it, I always put the package at the side because I've lost like probably a grand or more just fucking it off and not realizing. And I opened 20 packages or 30 or 40 in one shot. And then I didn't know where it came from. And I don't want to go throwing accusations at people I can't prove it on. So I just eat it. So yeah, I'm with you there. I go a little slower now. You were telling me earlier about the importance of really the first edition sets and what that means. I mean, what does that really mean to you when you make that statement?
Uh, Thinking about it, it's more of a promise from LSS, right? So first edition was collectability, and people with the first three sets, we know really low print runs, right? And
Yeah,
then we've recently got the print runs. Well, last year we got a print run from Monarch. We recently got a print run from Tails, and we got a print run from Everfest. Those were kind of high, right? If you think about it. I mean, they're
yeah,
not super high in the grand scheme of things, which I don't think. But just taking it in, you're like, holy shit, Tails is 200 grand, 200,000, and then Everfest 240, 250, 225, whatever it is, right? Doesn't really matter at a certain point.
yeah.
But what I see from LSS, it's a promise that there's value and we're not going to abandon the product. And what I mean by that is with Tails, a year later in 2.0, they released Islander. Well, they gave her an Everfest, but like officially gave her
Yeah,
adult and young version Islander,
yeah.
which is a revisit to Tails. And now we're going to revisit to Monarch. So Alice is saying, hey, Walk 2 is we're not going to let your cards die. We're going to give you value in your cards. So I don't know if that's a first edition promise or if it's just a promise from LSS in general is that, hey, we have plans for you and we want you to value your cards. That's what I see. I don't know if it's a
I
first
think,
edition promise or if it's a block one,
mhm.
block two promise.
Yeah, I think also too that each set isn't like a fully fleshed out model of the
Mhm.
talent. It's a foundational set for that talent to be expanded upon. If you imagine it like a house, when you build it, they poured the cement foundation or whatever and drilled the poles into the ground. And now they're gonna just build a couple stories of fun on top of each one. And I think the elements are going to expand significantly. I mean, there's so much expansion space for ice to be kind of like control. It is, in fact, ice is in fact bluish, like water, etc. Which ironically in Magic, blue is the most controlling color by a long shot. It is the most devastating color. So it feels like ice is almost like control. And, you know, if you think of it that way, then I think like Tales of Aria, it's just the beginning of the control element of the game, really. Uh, Not too many other elements control things. I mean, yeah, you have Ninja that mills things, but ice is the controlling like element. And for instance, Channel Lake Frigid reminds me of this card in Magic called Stasis. It freezes everything, basically. And so, and Stasis was in the first set of Magic ever made. So if you look at Tales of Aria like having that as basically control, then you might think that down the road there's going to be a lot more control decks. I can guarantee you there will be, to help slow the game down a little bit and to bring another aspect to it. And with that said, there's really not that many boxes if you look at it in that framework. If that is the first set for control with some of the most powerful control cards, Blizzard and Channel Lake, extremely powerful cards. So, and I'm
Yeah,
sure there's others too, like the Winter Spites and many more. I'm leaving a few out, I'm sure, but they're powerful, right? So TOA, I just think is being undervalued. And I know you've bought some singles recently from TOA, but like I just feel like Channel Lake is maybe could go down as the most controlling ice card. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure yet.
and I think Channel Lake will be a really good buy a month or two from now because we talk about ice being so powerful.
Mhm.
Islander and Oldham just recently went LL in
Mhm.
Blitz. And they're also
Yeah.
on a list to go LL and CC. So at that
Yeah.
point, is Channel Lake Frigid and all those other cards might die. Not die, but like go down in price.
Right.
It might go to a
They'll take a
hibernation
break.
ice, right? So they're gonna
Yeah.
sleep for a little bit.
Yeah.
So with that in mind though, like Monarch went to shit when Prism and Chain LL, right? Not too
Yeah.
many people are playing Bolton and Levia. There's a Levia Colt, right? But that's the only thing that
Right.
keeps them alive. And then you
Right.
got Bolton, just some players on that, but overwhelmingly they're a very small percentage of the players. And then
Yeah.
so if
Yeah.
Oldham and Icelander go LL, and then Briar's on the list too, there's not really much incentive to really open Tales of Aria at that point. Which is why
Yeah.
you said I've been buying singles from Tales of Aria. That's one of the reasons why. Like, I love Monarch. I always talk about Monarch, but Tales of Aria is my next hit list for that reason, for
Mhm.
singles wise.
Yeah. When you look at how well that set is and how well that set performs, I should say, in game, like three amazing heroes. Like
Yep.
probably it might be arguably the best set that's come out because all three are absolute killers. They all like face bans of different types. And now Lexi is like giga pumped. She's right in the pro tour, right in the top decks.
Yep.
So like Oldham was haunting forever. Briar, obviously, the ultimate smooth brain, like beatdown deck where you had to ban so many cards just to stop her. Like she was unstoppable. So that set is extremely good. Like, and it's a good draft set too. Although a lot of people like to just go Briar, but it's a very interesting set. And I think that the amount of boxes is totally fine. I think that long term, you could even see growth on Lightning because Lightning doesn't seem that explored. Lightning seems underpowered so far, right? It feels like there's more to be done with Lightning, the element as well.
I bought some shock charmers a month ago. I forget how many I bought. I'm not going to say how many, but I bought some shock charmers, cold foils,
Yeah.
because they were super cheap, right?
Yeah.
So
They're
like,
disrespected.
it's a beautiful card too.
Yeah.
Really good looking art. So it's disrespected, and there's no heroes to really play it except for Lexi, right? So
Right.
I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, that card has value. And once tail, so some of the reasons why I buy in tail singles, I bought some Monarch singles too, but there's really no incentive to open the set right now because there's only value in a few singles. So if
Yeah.
you're open it, you're either self-marking or you're holding the cards, right? You're selling what
Right.
you can for single. Let's say you have a bunch of cases in the hold, you're opening, selling what you can, you're holding the rest, right? But
Yeah.
if you don't have any cases, you don't have much motivation to buy one and open it. So you
Right.
want
The EV is pretty low and it's not as in demand, and the heroes are about to LL, so everybody's kind of, holding their breath, unloading a little, which is typical of the LLing. Prism, same thing, right? When Prism LLs, there was some selling. That's standard. There's some
yep.
selling. People are going to cycle into a new deck in that moment, right? But long term, God, Prism is just amazing. So Prism is still pretty well priced to this day, even though she hasn't been legal in ages.
But
So in
so
CC.
the footsteps held up value quite a bit. The husk dropped in
Yeah.
value quite a bit. So the
Yeah.
husk was a good purchase. It's fucking
Yeah.
$400 now, cold foil, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy right now.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
crazy
then
right now.
Spellbound Creepers, $300 for a cold foil, $200 for a rainbow foil.
Pretty
And the reason
funny.
why I think that one is so high and has the most potential is there's no reason to open tails. Now,
Yeah.
Husk may drop in value rainbow foil wise. I don't know how many open. I have no idea how many boxes get opened during like a draft season, right? Is it 1,000, 3,000,
A
400,000?
lot. A
But even if you
lot.
get 5,000 boxes, say in draft set, it's only so many cards. Because let's say you take the 40 times or 4,000 divided by 40, that's like 100 or whatever, 1,000, whatever. I can't do math in my head, but
Yeah.
fables, right? So
Yeah.
there's only so many new cards being added to the market. So I was looking at that is like if no one of these open tails right now, Torsham has a lot of value proposition. $200 for a cold foil right now. If you get new elemental heroes, that card's going to go up. But Spellbound Creepers and New Horizon are high. So New Horizon is kind of like my benchmark for a cold foil.
Yeah.
So
For that set.
you have a $200,000, 200,000 print run. A New Horizon, Rainbow Foil, and Cold Foil are $250. I'm like, people
Yeah.
are complaining about prices now for other legendaries. That is the benchmark of what they can be when someone's in demand. So it's a
Yep.
combination of demand because it's a high print run, right?
Yeah.
So 200,000 boxes. Who knows how many unlimited are? And that's a high price, right? So any of these
Pretty
legendaries you look
high.
at have good potential. So
Yeah.
Brainforce Bracers are $50 right now, right?
Yeah.
And we know there's probably about 10,000, 11,000 of those copies.
Yeah.
But if you look at the total print run of that and alpha, that's only like 11,000, 12,000 copies. You look at the total print run of Tales of Aria, there's so many more copies in New Horizon. So if you get those first two sets, Legendary gets them popular. What if Tectonic Plating becomes the de facto chess piece for Guardian, and Guardian's the main meta, right? It's $40 card right now. When I checked on Kishi Player.
Cheap as balls right now. That thing's
Yeah.
cheap as balls. So
So
it's the time to pick it up when you don't want to pick it up, because that's when no one wants it. And now, in this type of format, anything can become in vogue again. So like, it actually is genius because it actually rewards you for not panic selling, for just smart, disciplined buying, and having all of them. It rewards you for being a collector because you can play with all these pieces too. Like if something comes back in style, if you haven't panic sold it or sold it, then there you are. You can use it again. And guess what? LL format comes. You can use it again. It keeps it useful all the way through. That's what I like about it. So to kind of get to the Pro Tour though, that you didn't attend so rudely.
well, I wanted you to bring it up. I didn't attend. So I was like, I want to hear more from you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
fantastic event. I was very tired the whole time because it was just jam packed with stuff. Got there Thursday night. Just insane on Friday. Friday was an insane day. Like got there in the morning at like 9 a.m. Was doing deals all day long. Cracked some packs over at the Unseals booth. Was doing deals the rest of the day. Then hung with Rudy and the gang, open boosters, Edwin, Saint, a couple other folks, Magic to Millions, shout out. He sucks. No, but and hung out with James White in that group, which it was dumb because some idiot turned on the camera and then obviously he's not going to spill any tea.
Mhm.
But yeah, that Friday was the most deals I've personally ever done on one day in the history of my fab dealing career. Like it was just crazy. Myself, shout out Peter D. He was going bananas. There was between myself and others that I know of, maybe a $500,000 exchanged in that day. It was stupid. It was insane, man. Like I couldn't even believe it. And I couldn't believe also how many people were there in dreary, ugly Baltimore. I mean, shout out Baltimore. They have some good seafood, but no one wants to go to that place. I went because listen, I try to go to all the pro tours, but the venue was super sick, really nice. They had a lot of events that were nothing to do with playing cards, casuals. That was awesome. Day 2, Saturday, shitload more deals. What do you know? Just deals on deals on deals. It was insane. The amount of buying that I saw happen was stupid. It was definitely like New Jersey times 2 at least in volume. Like it just was nonstop, just snapping. Lots of boosts buying people out, lots of boosts taking huge trades. Um, you name it, it was happening. Had a good dinner at Magic to Millions house, which was great. He prepared some Wagyu beef. Big respect, shout out to him. Very amazing dinner. Guy's a killer chef, knows his shit. And then met a lot of people at Pro Tour I've never met before, like all these cosplayers. I never introduced myself to James White. Fortunately, we got to speak for a long time here at this Pro Tour on multiple occasions. So that was nice. Gave him a lot of insight on what I thought about the art and stuff like that. Probably won't mention any more about any conversations because I'm just that type of guy. But overall, it seemed everyone was pleased. And the event was very elevated compared to the previous one due to, I think, the promoters. And just really an amazing time. I would definitely do that again. Shared tacos with Rudy and the gang. Had some tacos. That was fantastic. And then just spent a lot of time with people I wouldn't normally spend time with. Like Rudy opened boosters, Edwin, that gang, Hamal Patel. Spent a decent bit of time with him. And then the Unseals gang. I mean, everybody was just having fun, man. And we were all doing a little drinking here and there, but there was just so much commerce done, dude. Like, I can't believe the amount of deals that were done. And that's in Baltimore. Like, legit, I think if it was in a nicer spot on the east, probably 25% bigger turnout. There were many, there was probably 2,000 to 3,000 that went through the venue, counting people that just come to buy or sell. But it was on a new level, man. They've leveled up. They've definitely leveled up. The calling, I think, was almost 1,000 people, and that's just like a calling event, not the pro tour, whatever.
And the side events too. Just people
And that's in Baltimore, dude.
Yeah.
No one's traveling to that shit. So like only people on the east that are right there mostly went. A lot of people from the world sat that event out from what I was seeing. So saw my boy Tarek Patel almost get into top 8. Shout out Tarek Patel. Felt bad for him. He fucking grinded his ass off. He'll get there again. Guy's a brilliant player. But yeah, it was just a great event, top to bottom. I met our favorite Stackswell. He gave out Little Chad energy. So he's got to level up that energy if he ever wants to speak to me again.
Wait, are you officially insider now that you talked to James White?
I can neither confirm nor deny my level of anything because I am nobody. So
nice.
We are just like Game of Thrones, the many-faced god.
Well, side note, talking about the event though, what makes you think so many deals happen in person at events versus many deals happen online, right? But what makes you think so many deals happen in person?
Watching the vendors stock, talking to the vendors, which I know most of them in person. I know most of them really well and do business with them. And then seeing some of my friends that are not vendors go in there and just like churn $500,000 in 2 days. Like, what the hell? And they're maxing their PayPals and like unable to fucking finish transactions because they're moving money so quickly that they're maxing all their limits. Uh, because they have to wait for the bank deposit to come the next day and it's on a weekend. So they have to ask a guy to float the PayPal for a day so they can pay them on Monday. So yeah, like just doing some tally. And then I was just hanging out with Saint some of the time too. He did a bunch of deals. I saw some really nice stock. Saw a 9.5 graded gold tunic, which was
Oh,
really
wow.
beautiful card. That seller was super cool. We took that guy to lunch, but just so much being exchanged, man. And I helped facilitate an alpha case and an ARC case move. I think there were like 5 that moved that weekend alone for alpha cases. So just in that hemisphere, not anywhere else, but just in that hemisphere, not even online. So it was pretty eye-opening, dude. And to see open boosters and Edwin and Rudy's eye sockets pop out, like the vibe was just great all weekend. But also you could tell that they were like, wow, like this is impressive. Like we are definitely like behind this game, but they're now like really behind the game because it's there to stay. You can just sense when people are excited and you can feel the money moving everywhere and you can feel the crowds and you can feel everybody's genuine passion. All these people from all over the world, there's people from Brazil there, dude. Like Luis Cartado was there. Shout out Luis. And like we've been talking for 2 years online. Like we sent him some bulk. I sent him some alpha bulk for prizes a long time ago, and me and Saint helped get him a bunch of decks before that Brazil got any distribution. So like there's just this like new feeling of like, wow, this expansion is happening. James White's energy is great. They announced all that new stuff on Dust Till Dawn, which is fucking sick.
Yeah.
And it was just haymaker after haymaker, dude. Like it was like Vince McMahon face, like over and over. Like his
Yeah, that
head
one.
kept going back in the mangasm. So it just was amazing. And I got a lot of other insight that I can't really share that really makes me feel very confident in the way the game is being managed. So
To be honest, I haven't been as confident man, I've always been confident in Flesh and Blood, but I'm saying like I got really confident in Flesh and Blood January, February this year. Because
yeah,
last year I wasn't really doing that many sales. And I mentioned in my Discord, but maybe not online, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get laid off from my job or not, right? So I had to
yeah,
clear up some sales, get some cash equity going. I was selling a few things. All of a sudden I saw like a huge demand, getting a lot of DMs, more and more people messaging me. I see cases flying off the shelves. I'm like, holy shit, like the demand's picking up. Talk to
yeah,
Cold Foil Heroes. His sales going off the roof, TC player. I'm like, oh man, these things are going crazy right now.
yeah.
All right.
Amal's telling me the same thing. Amal's
Yeah.
telling me the same thing. His sales are just increasing. I mean, it's out of control and it's in a good way. It just means there's legit demand. And listen, I'm barely even buying. I'm buying here and there little stuff. Like I bought a gold foil shock charmers from a pro player on the weekend. I know you hate gold foils, but
But I like shock charmers.
listen, when you drink too many beers, you buy gold foils. That's what happens. And I literally bought it at the bar. So this was pretty funny.
Well, here's my
But
thing. I only hate gold foils for the first 3 sets. The reason why I hate gold foils first 3 sets, I'm biased because I have cold foils first 3 sets. And if you have
yeah,
a low print run, 800, then you have 50 or 40 gold foils on it, you've increased the percentage quite a bit, right? So
yeah,
that leads to the scarcity. So for my
yeah,
bias, I have gold foils. That's what I
that
think.
annoyed me too a little bit, but it is what it is. I've put that dog to bed. Like I'm at a point where I feel like those are kind of like early Magic promos.
Yep.
And all those early Magic promos, like Gaia's Cradle, Wheel of Fortune, a lot of those other early like Judge promos are like stupid expensive. So I'm confident in the way it's going. I still don't like that they're doing a drop rate on whack foils, gold
Mm.
foils. I think it should have been book closed, but listen, that's a small point. That's a small quibble, like
Oh,
you're not
I'm
going to
over
please
it already.
everybody.
But it's like, oh, I'm mad one night. Ah, I'm so angry, but now I'm over it. Same thing too. Like I didn't like the cold foil Command and Conquer. I made a video
Yeah,
about it, but I'm
yeah,
not gonna wake up every day and like, oh my god, I'm so mad at cold foil Command and Conquer. Right?
yeah,
Just it's like a temporary, like, oh, I just like this. Whatever. I'm not
yeah.
gonna hold a grudge against it. It's just me personally, I don't like it per day, but doesn't mean LSS is not doing the right thing. They're doing what's right for the game, right? That's just what they do. So I can't
One
like
one
everything.
thing One thing I'll also say is the artists at that specific event were fucking busy as fuck. Like I did not ever see them take a moment to even take a breath. They are making money. And they're making money because their art is good and LSS allows them the platform to do so.
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer in being rewarded for your art. Like my aunt is like a painter by trade, and she
Yeah.
sold paintings almost at seven figures for one painting. So like I understand like you should be compensated for art, and I'm just happy that LSS is doing that. But I also have a feeling in my gut that a lot of these Magic players that are feeling terrible, and listen, shout out Magic the Gathering. I have a huge vintage collection of Magic. It's my first love. But that said, listen, let's call a spade a spade. They're fucking their people hard. There's nothing to collect. The sealed value is boring. Maybe some of the sealed goes up in that, but the problem is they keep banging the EV and printing hard to oblivion, as Rudy would say.
Mhm.
And so I just don't feel any appetite for anything that's not old Magic. And so a lot of these newer players, like say you're in your 20s or teens and you're going into Magic and you're like, dude, like my collection just keeps getting printed to zero. I buy a card and it goes down 50% the next day. Like, what the hell? So a lot of that and a lot of the disconnection between Wizards and their fans is prompting, I think, some exodus into Flesh and Blood and also some other games that are dying or maybe not showing the pedigree that Flesh and Blood is showing. I firmly believe a Flesh and Blood, if you can't argue it now, it's 100% a top five game. But I could argue that it's
Right.
a top three playable card game in the world when we're talking TCGs only, with Magic, Pokemon, and Flesh and Blood. I mean, I guess some people argue Digimon or what was the other one? Damn, I forget the
Yu-Gi-Oh?
name of it. There's another one.
I only know Flesh and Blood.
So Digimon, they have DB Super, and they have another one.
Wise?
No, not Weiss. It's the other one. There's one more. It's a big game. But that game is arguably third, probably around the realm of Flesh and Bloods. But the way Flesh and Blood is expanding, dude, like it's just it's on a mission, dude. I'm telling you. That's my feeling from that event. Like it gave me very strong confidence. And I didn't see a lot of people that I wanted to say hi to because they're just playing, dude. They're like, no, I can't talk. Like, I'll talk to you later. Like, it's like, dude, this is great. And there's other people that are used to be playing more and they're organizing events. Like there's this event company now called, I think, Arcane Gaming, Arcane Events in SoCal, where I'm at now, ironically, doing a different business in LA. But they used to, just be players and they would play at Odyssey, Pasadena, Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And now they've formed a company and they've been running their own events and their own circuits for Flesh and Blood professionals in LA. And now they're getting a battle hardened and they're going to run that. So like they just took it upon themselves. They're like, dude, we're just going to do this ourselves. And there's so many players that are coming out of the woodworks in LA, and then anybody really in Nevada or Northern California can come to it. So yeah, like, dude, it's getting kind of great, and I like it. So that's kind of my take on the Pro Tour situation. Did you have anything to add on the Pro Tour?
I wasn't there, but just watching the news in general, hearing about Dustin Dawn, and seeing
Yeah,
the excitement and all the strains on that, it was
yeah.
fucking awesome. And then
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, I'm not a fan of Guardians, but old him winning all that and just seeing the excitement on that and grinding
yeah,
out. It was fun to be a bystander on that, but it's just fun seeing the crowds. I like to watch the videos when they popped up over the weekend. I wish I was there, but I went on a 2 week vacation right beforehand, and then like some other
yeah,
shit happened. So like, like oh man, I can't take off time right now. But it looked
yeah,
fantastic from the outside, and just
yeah,
seeing all the energy happen, and then like like okay, well we got the new hero announcement on there, and like oh wait, what's gonna happen on Sunday? We're gonna get a new announcement. Then you had the Dust of Dawn drop happen with we thought we were gonna get a new warrior, but it's new like
hmm
warrior angel or whatever, light angel, but it's fucking looked
yeah.
awesome though. But we're like, is it Kasai? Was it Durantia as a light as a hero? But it was an angel instead. But it was still a lot of energy happening on it. Like what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? So
And if board state is an issue in the future, which it looks like they're building out a lot of board state situational heroes, then it stands to reason that cars like Channel Lake Frigid are really big because you're going to slow down their board state building. So, But I just really like how they're kind of segueing from board state building dragons, and now you're doing board state building angels. So it's kind of interesting. The crowd went bananas when they saw all that. It was pretty sick, and there's massive excitement. So to segue into another topic, let's talk about the building of the game worldwide. I'd like to start with the fact that they're building out Japan, and that's massive
Yep.
demand I'm hearing from the APAC region. What have you been hearing about that?
I haven't heard too much, but I've sold a few cards on eBay to Japan.
Oh,
One
really?
one big
Which
card I
ones?
sold was a CF Tunic, graded 9
Uh-huh.
last year, or earlier
Uh-huh.
this year for about 5 grand,
Uh-huh.
right? And then I sold one or two other cards in Japan. I forget which ones, but just it popped in my mind, like because I've sold some to Australia before, or sold some
Yeah.
to Switzerland, but Japan's been like not my radar. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? Then I'm hearing about a bunch of sales. A lot of people, like, a lot of people are in Australia are selling to Japan too, and I'm hearing Japan, all Japan, Japan, Japan. So like,
Yeah.
okay, they got big buyers. And someone in my Discord today, I think Poke10, whatever, was mentioning about the
Yeah.
history of Magic, saying that once Japan got in is when Magic really picked up and started booming. So I don't know
Yeah,
the whole history right there,
Magic,
but yeah,
Magic in Japan, they have these guys there, and they're known for one thing. When they buy seriously, and they
yep.
just diamond hands the shit out of that card. Like that's their way of life. Like they buy it and they're committed. I'm not sure why, but I've heard that from basically anybody that has insight on Japan. Like I know a guy that travels there 3 or 4 times a year to sell Magic, particularly vintage, and he just tells me like it's those type of folks exist in Japan. They're really buying to keep it. They're really buying to keep the card. So there's a lot of buy in and not buy out and or sell out, I should say. So
Yep.
they're just really passionate about TCGs. There's tons of Japanese TCGs that don't even exist outside of Japan too, I've heard. So um, for them to be involved is massive because they're a pretty big economy, and it just solidifies the APAC region. It starts to connect the dots in this little railroad around all those countries like Aussie, NZ, Japan, Singapore, China, Vietnam, Thailand. You go through all that area, and you got little communities budding. So, and some big communities, obviously. So, I saw that. Brazil, they got their own distribution coming.
Mhm.
Fantastic, because they get hit with a huge taxation, and that was a big limiter to them getting cards. So Brazil's huge in the equation because they're actually a pretty big Pokemon market. And when you think of it like that, you can see that there's a pretty sizable market of card players, and it's within the realm of possibility for some of them to play this game. That's for sure. So, particularly major cities like Rio or Sao Paulo. But I'm interested to see how that expands. I'll help try to encourage that, spread the gospel. Hope to see these people at events more. But yeah, it's exciting, dude. It feels like it's like a stop in the road on a long journey to just conquer the world and take over every damn big market that has card players that like playing great games and meeting in person. So
Well,
that's my
same
take.
too. Like LSS committed to the other languages. We had HP1 last year, right? HP2. I don't think HP2 is as big for whatever reason. There's no
Yeah.
marbles in it, but
Yeah.
HP1 is really big. Everybody wants it. We got print runs really small. I don't want to shout out Italian too much, but that was the lowest print run. I don't want to give Francis too much credit on that one.
Mi scusi.
But another impact I've had in Japan so far is I buy a lot from Taiwan, and I've been not able to get buys as much. And then when I went to get my buys early this year, I picked up some more Miracle Foil commons and rares. Prices
Mhm.
have tripled since I bought them last year. They're
Yeah.
like, I can't sell to you any lower because Japan's kicking in. They're like, we're just gonna sell to Japan, not to you anymore. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, all right, let me
Yeah.
get what I can from you now before it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you're like, might as well sell Japan instead of me. Because now they
Not to
have more
switch
value.
not to switch topics, but alpha foils are getting dead rare. Like they're getting to the point where it's like the worst alpha foil you can find that you just stepped on and whizzed all over. That's $10 now, and that's
Yeah.
interesting. I've been saying this for 2 years. Like alpha commons are so underappreciated, specifically foils and pinks. And some people accumulated bulk, some people bought them, but now you're seeing what's actually going to happen. A lot of these people with big positions in those don't even sell them or even announce they have them. And so good luck finding them. You're going to do a Where's Waldo, and you're probably going to find beater copies now. It's going to become hard to find and hard to acquire. Uh, I just see it happening, and in the next couple of years, it's going to be even more ridiculous. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to also get some vintage cards. Well, let's say vintage 2019 cards
It's still
into
vintage to me.
Japan. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
vintage to us now. Japan, Brazil, Europe. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see Europe expand. I have a couple friends over there that are telling me Europe is booming, and they're expanding hard. So that's super good to understand. But that kind of just wraps up the topic of the fact that they're expanding. They've taken many steps this year. This year is amazing. To get to
Was
the
it Worlds
topic
gonna
of,
be in Europe this year too?
yeah, France allegedly somewhere. No one's decided on city, but that's the alleged rumor.
Mhm.
Uh, so there hasn't been a full decision yet. So you were going to talk to me earlier about dead sets. You brought them up slightly, but I want to hear your take on the dead sets.
Yeah, I mean, dead sets in general. I'll just talk about Monarch, right? So I've been buying
Yeah,
Monarch ever since it's been dead. I mean, I've been buying it before
yeah.
it's been dead, but I bought it when it was up. I bought it when it was down. I bought it when it was dead. I bought it when it was up. I get called insider for it, but I keep buying it, right? So
You're an
I've been
insider.
buying Monarch for a long time. People are like, "Oh, you're pumping your own bags." I'm like, "Fuck!" I've been preaching about Monarch for 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, so dead sets though is I'm gonna die on that horse. I'm like, I've been buying everything, but
It's like a
Monarch
religion
in
to you,
general.
bro. Let's just face it. We need to have a fucking intervention for you. You're like a
I'm taking a
monarch
break, man.
fucking.
I'm getting married next month, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
taking a
well,
I'm taking a buying break.
are
Summer's
you gonna
over.
put a fucking library on her finger for a fucking ring? You know, Jesus Christ. Put a cold
Might
soil
as well just
library on there?
might as well get her address libraries.
Jesus
Um,
Christ, dude.
hey, I like my Monarch. I'm not gonna lie.
I know you do. You don't stop shilling it. We need to calm you down. But you
Hey,
were
I'm gonna
right
show
on Monarch.
tails next. So
Yeah.
dead sets, right? Is cards drop in value like crazy when they're not played. So
Yeah.
chain was out, Prism's out, Monarch
Yeah.
was dead. And
Yeah.
then Tails is probably gonna die pretty soon too. But what gave me really confidence in it was I always thought Monarch, LS has been hinting at this for 2 years or a year and a half at least. They had the
Mhm.
Doranthia story before Uprising came out. They had the
Yeah.
Shanna story Uprising, and they had like they kept drawing like Monarch hints throughout all the stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I kept
Yeah.
saying that, like, hey, we're coming back, but without coming back. So that
Yeah.
always made me like, hey, I should keep buying Monarch, right? And then so finally we're coming back to Monarch, but not only are we coming back to Monarch, we're like, we're making a trilogy out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, we're making a trilogy out of it. And secondly, is this summer, instead of doing outsiders for drafts for a whole 6 months, they're making it 4 months, 4 months, or whatever it is they're doing. But this summer is Monarch Unlimited, which
Yeah.
has me believe that LSS is the cards in Monarch are going to be relevant. Because why else would they
Yeah.
have us open Monarch?
Definitely going to be relevant. Definitely
Mhm.
going to be relevant. So I think the sets are going to combine in a way that's going to be a little bit new, maybe a little more board state options, maybe even some warrior board state options. That's just my gut. I could be completely wrong. They could just do some bonker stuff and have items or some other stuff or some new expansion and new abilities we don't even know about, which is very possible. They do it all the time. So,
Monarch was the set that introduced board state. Not that it happened too
yeah.
much, but it introduced the two shadow
Yeah, the
Ursa and then whatever
creatures
it was. Yeah.
yeah,
Doomsday and
Ursa and
Eclipse. Yeah,
Doomsday and Eclipse, yeah.
yeah.
So also James said multiple times, not just on the stage, that he's most excited about this set than he's ever been excited about anything. I think why is from talking. Also, I had the pleasure of speaking with one of his partners, one of the people that were there at the beginning of the game,
Yeah.
also about some things. But I think that introducing the collectability aspect of it that's never really been done before with the hand painting,
Yep.
I find that to be interesting. I think that art is something that can be encouraged even more through this game. I think that art can expand deeper through this game. And I think that people can broach into different mediums, like go into oil or go into acrylic or go into metal. And they already are doing metal, obviously, but there can be further expansion for artists to make money and be rewarded for their craft. And that's another unknown benefit that people aren't all the way realizing, that LSS is really helping these people launch themselves too. And I think there's going to be further expansion into the art aspect of this game. And if you believe that to be true, then you definitely need to have a position in every set, because art is a market that's like 1,000-fold this market. It's the monster of monster markets. So that's something to be thought about, because they had APs, but now they're doing these limited drawings and hand sketched, hand whatever. And that is pretty hot shit, I must say.
Well, I like things that you open in packs better than just being handed to you. So APs are cool.
Yep.
I never bought
Yep.
APs myself, but I always feel
Me
better
either.
opening out of a pack or something that could be coming
Yeah.
out of a pack.
I like them out of a pack because of the memory of it.
Yeah. Whenever I open something, like I remember when I would get my big hits, and like I feel fucking fantastic.
Right.
The odds of opening these serialized cards are so rare that I
Yeah.
never expected even to open it, even if I open 1,000 boxes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I understand some people in the world are upset because they can't open it in their countries,
Yeah.
like the Japan or Asian Pacific can't get it. We're unlikely to open it ourselves too, and many of them might
Yeah.
not be open too because not all boxes are open. So there's probably only be a handful of ones that are open. It's like a lottery ticket at that point.
Yeah.
You don't have the chance of getting it, but the chances of getting it are still unrealistic, even if you are opening. So
Yeah. I really love that part of it, but I also think it shows one card out of the hand of LSS that they intend to continue to expand the fact that art is beautiful, and they want artists to make money, and they want to encourage the art in this game to be shared with the world in various different ways. And I just feel like the writing's on the wall for that. I feel like no game has really rewarded artists the way that this game will in the future, or has already. Magic kind of poops on the artists a little bit. Yeah, they give some APs, whatever, for Magic 30. But like overall, it was basically a one and done for them. I think LSS does a better job of taking care of artists. I think they have a longer game plan and longer playbook because they're not publicly traded, and they can do things that the publicly traded company just doesn't have the capacity to do. So I foresee big things in the art space with this game as well, man.
well, the artists are treated like rock stars at events, as you're saying. And then,
Yeah.
like for example, the artist who made Prism originally, I think it's the same artist who did the new art for Prism. So
Yeah.
they're keeping them on board, and they're keeping the artists with what they made too. So it's kind of interesting to see that as well.
Yeah, and they give them ways to generate revenue out of it. And the other thing is they start to build their brand up, and before you know it, LSS is doing other things with their art and making them more money and generating more hype for the game on the collector's side, because collectability and playability, they go hand in hand sometimes, and then sometimes people just like stuff. So what I always liked about TCGs and buying into them, the ones that I love, which are really vintage Magic and Flesh and Blood, is that they also have a use case. Rather than sports cards, there's really no use case. You're just kind of being a fan. Yeah, it's a huge market. It's great. You make money off it. Cool. But there's never really a way to play a sports card game, right? There is a way to play a trading card game. So,
And it's cool though too, like when you're legendary or even Marvels now could be on the board and you got board state. Fucking feels
Super
awesome. Like,
cool.
oh, I have the fucking Marvel Dragon, I have the Marvel Soraya. Looks
Yeah.
fucking cool, right?
Super cool, dude.
Yeah.
Super cool.
And there's
So we
many
have
ways to
this
bling it
trilogy.
out. I didn't like how they blinged out too much. I heard Saint mention they're going to address it. Is you
Yeah.
had the rainbow foil, cold foil, and then Marvel. So supposedly that's going to be addressed. I didn't like the three versions. I like how the dragons did it, where you had the non-foil and then the Marvel. So
Yeah, I like that too. And because you don't want to go overboard. And Rudy is spot on this point. Less is more. Like, you don't want 25 versions of a card. It confuses me, man. It confuses anybody. Smart people, dumb people, and people in the middle don't like it. No one likes that shit. So,
well,
like,
it's
what
hard.
are you
It's hard to
doing,
buyer
dude?
and seller too. As I told you, I bought a lot this year. I mean, no rumor. I mean, I bought a lot this year, right? So I'm opening
Yeah.
like tons of packages. I had one of my Marvel Sorayas came up like as a cold foil Soraya, and I missed that in grand openings. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the seller did it on purpose or whatnot, but sometimes he's like,
Yeah.
it's hard to know how to list your item on the TCG player. Someone might just sold it, or like, oh, my cold foil is $300, $400, $500, but
Yeah.
it's hard as a buyer and a seller to know how to manage your cards at that point when you have too many versions.
Yeah. Yeah, overboard is not, it needs to be done with taste. And I think they've done some experimenting, and I think that they're going to pull back slightly on it, but they're still going to make some hyper chases, which I like. So
Yep.
I'm into it, bro. I'm into it. I see LSS expanding into many other verticals to make their brand bigger. James has a very big vision, and this is this guy's life. You can feel it in his soul when he talks about it. So, oftentimes when you have a leader of something, you want to make sure that they're all in. I would say with certainty the guy's all in to his vision, and he's made plenty of money. He could probably retire tomorrow, but he still works like a fucking dog. He is there all day long, grinding. He's even grinding at dinner. He's talking about business. He enjoyed himself probably a little bit on one of the nights, I would guess. Other than that, he was in meetings all damn day, every day. Everyone commanding his attention. He is a machine. He's like, and I remember I said this in 2020, which is hilarious. I was like, he's the Elon of TCGs. That's what he reminds me of, bro. So,
He's so passionate. I met him twice in person. Only talked to him really once at Worlds. Like I saw him at Pro Tour when I first went there, but he was so busy I didn't really talk to him. But
yeah,
Worlds, like he's just so passionate. He's like, he even knows, like he's like, hey, thank you for all you've done for community. He like keeps track of everybody who does stuff like that. Like I've only
yeah.
emailed James once or twice beforehand. He was like, hey James, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh Michael, Salty Will, how are you doing? I'm like, like I was like, you keep track of that. I don't try to interact with him, right? I barely ever reach out to James. And then
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
was like, oh wow, and then from someone from LSS, like, hey Michael, Salty Will, how are you doing? What are you buying out here? I'm like, oh, so it's nice to see like LSS is still involved in the community too and all that too.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody knows, a lot of people don't know that they hired Trevor Baker, who's a mutual friend of ours, as basically the director of their organized play. So he's helping run the events. The guy's got a massive pedigree.
mhm.
He did work with Channel Fireball early in his career, I think for 5 to 10 years, and then he had his own LGS for another 10. He knows Magic. He knows all these events front to back. He's been with Flesh and Blood since almost the beginning,
Yep.
and spent a good time with him as well, and got to have some in-person time with him for over multiple days. And some of the visions he's talking about are great. He's really him, and the discussion with LSS is advancing, and they're planning some amazing things, and they're really in the right spot. They're not looking behind them. They're looking in front of them and to innovate new things. They're not afraid. They're just pushing. So they're not the ones that are going to coast on their wins. You can just tell by the attitude that they all have, which is just fantastic to see. It's what you want to see out of a startup game that was just a startup, what, 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, roughly, whatever. 4 years ago now, so it was 3.5 roughly.
Yeah,
But
time goes
yeah,
fast. I mean, it's really,
time flies when you're having
yeah.
fun. So I got a lot of insight, man, and I'll tell you, like the vibrations from that event and all those people, these are just quality people, people that are intelligent, people that are already successful in other things, and they're all just combining together like this big fucking uh what's that damn group of Marvel heroes? What are they called?
Avengers.
The Avengers, bro. The Avengers of TCGs, all within LSS's staff. So,
Oh, they're kicking off. Plus, they
yeah,
expanded their PVE group. They LSS has grown the company quite a bit, so they're really planning big things. And I know the
yeah,
professor mentioned last year he has some sort of partnership going on. So it'll be interesting to see if he announces anything this year. I mean, things get delayed,
yeah,
of course, so you never know when it's going to happen.
yeah.
But
He's huge. He's
yeah,
huge, and they've already made a video or two about like Ultimate Pit Fight video. I think they
they
made.
did one recently. It was
With,
pretty cool.
yeah, it was like DM Armada, Red Zone Rogue, him, and then
The football
Dalen
player, yeah.
Mack. I think his name is
I don't know his name. What was his name?
Dalen Mack. I think his name is football
Yeah, I know,
player that
you know
plays
he's a football
Flesh and Blood.
player and he's big in it,
Yeah,
but I forget.
yeah, so there's just a myriad of people that play the game and enjoy it. But the other thing that really this weekend taught me a lot more about is just spending quality time with people. It seems to be rare nowadays. I mean, especially me, I'm a busy man, but like this event gives me an excuse to go socialize. It's really good for your mental health, dude, and it's good for everybody. You all interact. Most people are cool. Like it's not a bunch of bombs. It's cool people. Like there's so many winners at these events, young and old, and everything in between. Like it's just a good group, and I'm excited about this community. I want to see where it goes over these years, and I'm very confident in what's going on. But I'll leave you with this. This is my final thought, and then I'll let you give yours. But right now, we're at a crossroads of things being cheap enough to buy before they get out of hand. And so there's things you want to collect, contemplate when you want to buy them, because that crossroads may come to an end soon on a lot of these items that are rare.
I agree with you on that. My final thought is don't ignore block two. even though it's got a higher print run. I don't necessarily have a big position on everything, so just because I'm saying something doesn't mean I'm pumping it. I have everything. So like, oh, I own this, I own this. I'm like, hey, I'm not pumping block two, block two. Like I have this position in Monarch, but Tails and Everfest, don't ignore those. Everfest, James White says he has unlimited on the horizon. He wouldn't say that unless there's a use for it. Those
Yeah.
potions are still unknown. There's a lot of Majestic equipment in there. Like, what is the use for it? I'm
Mhm.
assuming LSS made those cards for a reason. They don't print cards just to be shit, right? Not saying everything's shit. There's a lot of good Majestics in that set, but don't ignore the sets that are not popular. You
Yeah.
know, pick up something that's cheap. I mean, for
Yeah.
example, like I don't have a position in Soul Food, but Soul Food Rainbow Foils are like 50 cents for a lot, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, why not pick up something that's super cheap that could easily become
Soul
10, 20,
Food.
$30, right? That
Bro,
doesn't
I
mean
was
that
hitting him
card
at a
will hit it.
dollar. I was
but-
hitting him at a dollar. Boom. Soul Food,
I bought some
baby.
Dimensional Crossroads. They were 50 cents. Dollar for
Cheap.
Rainbow Foils. The new
Cheap.
hero has Dimensional Gateways. I'm like, oh, it's got the same word in it. Like maybe that card would
Yeah.
be popular. So I bought some of those.
Possible.
So
Possible,
there's
bro.
always chances to make money.
Yeah.
Just because it looks like, for example, I'll say I buy cards, the prices might go in value. Look for cards to drop in value, look at the cards to stay in value. The cards that are being bought that stay in value, you want to keep an eye on those ones because those are the ones that are thinning the market.
Mhm.
Brave Bracers, I'll give you an example. I bought some up to $100, right? Maybe one to the 150 one point. It's $50 now. It's not demand. If you look at the Spellbound Creepers, didn't buy tons of those, but it's at 300 now. You know, I bought a few here and
Mhm.
there over time, but that card has
Yeah.
gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
Not useful now, but people are specking on it. But sometimes too, Tails is not being opened right now. Whereas,
Yeah.
so keep an eye for cards that are dropping in value. Keep cards that go up in value. Doesn't mean to buy those cards. Doesn't mean to buy them. I'm not saying to buy them. I'm saying if you're buying cards, keep track of the ones that go up, ones that go down. Skullbound Cross Drops are dropping in value right now. New Horizons grow up. So Lexi's kind of
Mhm.
more popular than Azalea, probably. But as soon as Lexi goes to LL, the Skullbound Cross Rack go back up. So things
Could be.
come and go in waves. So don't ignore something because it's cheap, I guess is my takeaway. Cheap cards are the ones you want to buy. When they go up in value, sometimes you get say, fuck, I need to buy it because I need it for my hero. Might not be the best card to invest in right now, but maybe you want to buy it for your hero. But the goal is to buy them when they're down. That's
Especially if you're trying to build a collection, you know. So
Yeah.
good advice, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on, bro.
Yeah, man. It's always good talking to you, man. I talk to you every day in Discord, but I don't talk to you too much on the phone or video. So
That's true.
good chat again.
Good chatting, bro. Have a good one.